If you don't support the rate increase, what other options for revenue might OPPD have in the future? And we'll start with Tom Mulligan.
Well, and as I said earlier, you know, I'm not here to second guess what the board has already passed. In my first answer, you know, I tried to explain the challenges that a company like OPPD has in making sure that the infrastructure that they have or using is safe and reliable. So it's a very difficult question. You know, the fairness issue, I think, probably comes to mind first, because, you know, we as users, we all expect that electricity, that power source, to be available to us. And in order for that to happen, the infrastructure must be in place, and for the infrastructure to be in place, there's got to be a sufficient revenue stream to ensure that that is there in a safe and reliable condition.
Thank you. Paul Anderson.
My thoughts on this, possibly an approach would or could be to leave the fixed rate just the way it is. Don't alter it. Another thought that I have, like this caller who just called the question in, if I am granted the honor to be on the board, I feel one of the best approaches would be is to go to the ratepayers, get their input as to how they feel about a rate increase or no rate increase. And I agree with what's already been said too. I do not understand if a ratepayer reduces the amount of kilowatt hours that they are using by making their home more energy efficient, reducing their electric bill. I don't feel that they should be penalized, so to speak, by a fixed rate. And the other thought that I want to impart, it's an understanding most commercial businesses obviously use more electrical power, and I feel they should pay for what they use.
Okay, thank you. Colin Cavanaugh.
Well, one of the things certainly as you move forward into the future, and I think any big company of sorts, when you're having difficulties trying to maintain costs, is you have to look at yourself from the inside out, and you have to go to your employees and be a bit more innovative, and you have to come up with and develop perhaps new type of products to create revenue. At the Postal Service, when I was there, we were in very dire straits a certain time frame back 15, 20 years ago. And fortunately for them, we talked to some of the employees, developed some teams, and we decided that we could deliver packages. We needed to go after that. UPS didn't really want to deliver a lot of the packages in residential areas. And in short, it probably saved the Postal Service's life at the time and future, as they are delivering one heck of a lot of priority mail packages. Now, my understanding is OPPD has developed what's called an innovation team. I think that is maybe starting to kind of look at this type of thinking, and I would be very much wanting to try and push that along and support that, as I think that's where the future is for them.
Thank you. Craig Moody.
So the first fallacy is that revenues were dropping from 2014 to 2015, and they weren't. They were up 2 to 3%. Meanwhile, costs were up about 2%. The big difference was retail sales were up 3.6, while wholesale, which means on the open market, the Southwest Power Pool is down 12%. And why that is a whole nother story, but let's not kid ourselves. The retail sales have been doing generally just fine. Now, the question, however, was, okay, if we're not going to do rate restructuring, then what should we do instead? And I'll answer that question. First, you know, they're transitioning to smart grid technology, and what smart grid is going to allow a PPD to do is that it's going to give them a variety of different pricing alternatives and options, rather than just the simple per kilowatt hour that they're doing, regardless of when you're using it. And the main thing that they'll do, which is what they do with some of their larger commercial customers, is they change the rate that you pay based on what your peak demand is. So whenever you hit that peak during the day, during the month, during the year, that's going to be at a higher rate, because what they don't want to do is have to build another power plant for that. Second thing that I want to take a look at is on-bill financing. That's something that they can definitely do, and there's a nice revenue source for them. And the last would be to incentivize electric vehicles. Most people, when they're plugging in their electric vehicles, is at night. That's when their demand is the lowest, and it's a great way for them to supplement what they typically are paying for at night, which is streetlights.
Okay, thank you. And Don Krupa.
Well, first of all, I think I would push for more wind turbine farms. As we can see in the last brochure, service brochure, I think the wind turbine farms would spur economic growth all over Nebraska, across the state. I think it's important, like we mentioned, electric vehicles. Myself being with the natural gas, we got liquid natural gas cars, and they got stations around town already that we could push that. With my knowledge with how MUD is run, being a chairman 3 years, we could go in there and get a good price on making those liquid propane powered. Also, I think it's important that we, let's see, I forgot my thought a little bit there. But I think it's important that we, like the percentage of gas, there we go, I finally come back to me. Being a full-blooded bohunk, it makes a difference. I think, like say, when we get, well, I'm lost.
Thank you.
I'll end there, sorry about that.
That's all right, thank you.